A lot of times people ask me like, how do I know if I'm ready? How do I know if the time is right for me to start a business or to start my first course or this, that, the other? It's, do you want to or not? If you want it, great. Let's figure out a plan to get there. Like, I'm here to help you figure out a plan to get there. And if, as we're coming up with a plan, if the entire time you're like, yeah, but I can't because that, but I can't because that is not going to work.
Hello, beautiful humans, and welcome to episode number 269 of the Game On Girlfriend podcast. Let's be honest. Do you have that thought that making a lot of money in a business is for other people, or that people who make millions of dollars in business might just be doing something shady, right? Like there's got to be something wrong with them. If you've had those thoughts, or you have found yourself on the cusp of trying something new, you hired the new coach, you tried the new course, you did the thing, and about halfway through, you hit this like invisible brick wall that was like, no more for you. And you believed it. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, I know, right? It's a really common experience. If you have that, like gone through that in the past, or you're going through it right now, boy, is this the podcast episode for you. You are going to love it because today's guest, Caitlin Bacher, has helped thousands of human beings create million-dollar businesses by speaking about what they love and what they know and creating courses around it. And if you go, oh my God, Sarah, digital courses, really? Yeah, I'm going to say digital courses, really. You guys, I just bought a digital course not long ago because I'm renovating my kitchen, and I bought a course about how to not make mistakes renovating your kitchen. Bought it. Yep. It doesn't always have to be about how to make money, or it doesn't always have to be about those of us that are the loudest. I know us business coaches, right? Who are always talking about what's possible with online courses. You can actually create an online course about anything. And that's where both the fun and the power lie. The other thing about today's podcast episode that I think really sets it apart is this idea that being ready really is a choice. Are you ready to choose business success or not? That's the question I want running around in the back of your head as you listen into us today. Caitlin Bacher is the CEO of Scale with Success, a company dedicated to teaching coaches and course creators how to turn their online course into a 7-figure business. Get this, without launching. Her company has rapidly grown to over 11 million in revenue over the last few years with no signs of slowing down. Caitlin believes that there's more than one right way to build a business. You can see why I love her, right? And that if launching isn't your cup of tea, you just don't have to do it. After Caitlin pivoted herself from launching to selling her course on autopilot, she unlocked the benefits of consistent revenue, every business owner's dream, so that she could get the traction her business actually needed. And now she teaches that same method to course creators all over the world. This conversation is about so much more than selling your course on Evergreen. Yes, we are going to touch on that. Yes, we touch on entrepreneur porn and all the get quick rich craziness that we see out there with the guys with the, the AirPods in and their rented jets. Yeah, okay. That's not what this is about. This is about what it's going to take from you to make a proven method actually work in your own business. It's so good. So pop in those earphones and let's get to it. Caitlin, are you kidding me? I am so excited to have you on the Game On Girlfriend podcast. I've been a fan for a while, and I so appreciate the work that you are doing. Welcome to the show today.
Thank you so much. I'm really excited to be here.
Yeah, good times. So I have to ask you the big question. So the big question in life, right? Like, you are uber talented. If you guys have not seen her Instagram videos, go find them. They're awesome. You are so good at what you do, but I have to ask you, because you probably could have done a lot of things with your life, right? There's a lot of avenues you could have gone down. Of all the things on planet Earth that Caitlin could be doing right now, why is this what you do?
So I like to think that kind of my purpose in life is to help people go from why they can't to how they can. And I want to share a little story behind that. So when I was a little girl, my dad used to always tell my sister and I, there's no such thing as can't. Can't is not a word in my vocabulary, right? So we'd be getting ready for school in the morning, and I'd be trying to tie my shoe, and he'd be like, come on, we got to go. And I'm like, I can't. He'd be like, nope, we don't, like, that is not a word in my vocabulary. And it's funny because it became so entrenched in my value system and my sisters that actually my sister, she got in trouble one day at school when she was in the second grade because can't was a word that was on her spelling test.
Oh my
And she
God.
wrote a note to the teacher. She was like, can't is not a word. That's not a real word. She was taking my dad very literally. And the teacher was called home and was like, your daughter is like,
What are you telling your children?
With me here. Yeah.
That is such a good story.
Yeah.
Wow.
But it's true. And I
It
feel
is
like
true.
as entrepreneurs, there's always a million reasons why we can't do something.
Mm.
And it's really up to us to think about how we can, right? On any given day, anything that we have to do, million reasons why we can't do it, but that doesn't matter. It's so important that we remain focused on figuring out how we can.
Love it. Isn't that the option for everything, really, though? Because
Mhm.
if you're going at, it doesn't matter what strategy you use. If you're going at something with, is it really gonna? It probably won't. It
Exactly.
doesn't
Yep.
matter. So I think that mindset is so huge. And I love that you took that from your whole family, that you guys were raised that
Yeah.
way. Oh, what a foundation for life. Like, how
Yeah.
lucky are you that, oh my gosh, what a gift. And now you use this, I happen to know very well that you use this to really, I want to say shift the mindset
Mhm.
for mostly service-based, right? Service-based online businesses or products as
Mhm.
well.
Yes, primarily it's people who who create their own courses and
Mhm.
sell them, people who have coaching businesses or even service-based businesses that are really looking to leverage their time, transition out of that trading time for money and into something more leveraged.
Yeah. What do you think? I'm gonna be really straight with you. Okay.
Yeah.
What do you think has to happen in someone's head
Mhm.
to do this shift between I am a one-to-one, right? And
Mm.
launching things, which takes, we've all done it, right? It takes so much energy, so much time, and sometimes it's a little bit fun, right? But it's pretty intense to evergreen. So I think first we have to define the difference between launch and evergreen. And then I really want to talk about what has to happen to the human being in
Yeah.
this business as they're making that shift.
So, one of the things that I annoyingly tell my daughter all the time is being ready is a choice. And when I say that, what I mean by that is there is no magical checklist out there where you can be like, oh, I'm going to check this and this. Now I'm ready to build a business, or I'm going to check this. Now I'm ready to transition from service based to course or from launching to evergreen or whatever it is. You decide when you're ready
Mm.
because the reality is you don't know how to get there. Because if you did, you would already be there. You don't know yet. And so all it is like a shift that you have to make in your own mind that, yes, I am ready to start. I'm willing to make mistakes. I'm willing to encounter unexpected challenges, but I'm just going to get started. I'm going to keep moving forward.
Mm. So it's all back to mindset again, then, right?
It really is. And I get at a lot of times people ask me, like, how do I know if I'm ready? How do I know if the time is right for me to start a business or to start my first course or this, that, the other? It's do you want to or not?
I
If
love
you
that.
want it, great. Let's figure out a plan to
Mhm.
get there. Like, I'm here to help you figure out a plan to get there. And if, as we're coming up with a plan, if the entire time you're like, yeah, but I can't because that, but I can't because that,
Mhm.
then it's not going to work. We have to really stay focused on how we can. But in terms of, as you mentioned before, our kind of specialty when it comes to really helping people grow and scale their business over time is through an evergreen model, which is very different than a launch model. And so I'd love to just talk a little bit
Yeah,
about
let's
the
do it.
difference between the two. So typically, launching is something that requires 2 to 3 months of intense list building and content distribution leading up to what's called an open cart, right? And that open cart can be the open cart for your services, for your one on one, for your course, whatever it is, right? Now, open cart is the period of time when you are actually allowing people to enroll in your course, program, whatever it is. And that open cart period typically lasts anywhere from 5 to 7 days. Then nobody can buy until your next launch, which is maybe 4 months or a year later. And what most course creators find is that when that launch ends, so does all of the momentum that they've been working so hard to generate. So then it's radio silence for your business until you begin the launch cycle all over again. And if you really think about it, it is a very high risk way of selling your course, especially for course creators who are making less than $1 million a year. They have no team, they have a non-existent ads budget, right? If your course is generating less than $1 million a year, the number one thing to really be focused on is how to generate consistent revenue. Being able to use an evergreen model, it allows you to enroll new students into your program on an ongoing basis, not just a couple times a year, which is great because it puts you, the business owner, in a position where you can grow over time, right? You can continue to collect data on what marketing messages are resonating with your audience. You can make tiny little pivots as needed, and you're putting less pressure on yourself for this one big thing to go or else.
And it is that feeling. It's like an all or nothing life or death situation sometimes when you're launching, right? Like it can have that feeling.
Yeah. The other thing I want to mention too is some people, they just love launching, right? Like they have a love for it and it's working for them and they want to do it. And to them, I say that is awesome. And what I want for people to really understand is that there is no one right way to do something, right? You want to make that. Kind of like we were talking about earlier, you can make $1 million with a service-based business, with an agency, selling ebooks, selling physical products, selling courses. It doesn't matter, but you have to pick something and then stick with it. And so I think that a lot of times people, they get caught up in feeling like, you know what, I'm launching and I just don't like it. It doesn't really mesh with my lifestyle and my personality, but I feel like it's the only way to do it. And so I'm here to basically shed light on another approach that may be more fitting for someone.
I love it. Because it is. We have both in our business, actually. There's some courses we launch and others are evergreen because we find the content does better that way. There are certain things people want to sign up for whenever, like you were saying. And as we get a little bit tactical for our girlfriends here, because there is, I call it entrepreneur porn out there, right? It's, you know what, when you see it, right? So it's out there. And I am finding that really one of the pieces of education that we've got to get out, I feel a responsibility to get out there, is how long it can take to figure out the proper marketing message. I so appreciate what you just said about once you start running Evergreen, you can tweak it. You can learn this. You can get better at what the audience really wants to hear. If someone's listening and they're like, oh, Caitlin, let's get serious. How long have you found on average does it take somebody to really hone in that message and do a great job of selling in an evergreen way?
So I would say, first of all, I can't speak to an average for other people. I can speak to my own experience.
Awesome.
But I don't like to do that, to create averages for other people, because then it seems like I'm guaranteeing that you're going to be able to do X by X. And that's just so different. Everyone,
well, it's impossible, right?
Yeah.
To
and
say,
everyone's
I did this
from different spots.
Yeah, I
right?
really
Like
appreciate
some
that.
people are like, okay, great. Like I'm going to start creating this course, but maybe they have a few years experience in their service-based business. Maybe they've sold other courses before. Maybe this person is totally, completely starting from scratch. I can say for myself, it was the third year of business is when I had my first $1 million year. And that during that third year, it took me, during that third year, that's when I stopped launching. And so during that third year, going from 10K months to over 100K months, that was a 9-month period. So yes, that was a 9-month period, but also I had been selling courses for a little bit before that.
You had a strong foundation. You understood what was having people get excited, right? Because I always say sales is a transfer of enthusiasm.
Yeah.
So what's having people get super excited about what you're offering? You had that foundation. And then it was 9 months. I think it's so great just to share, say, hey guys, it takes everybody how long it takes everybody.
Exactly.
But just to alleviate that magical thinking piece. Like I think what's happening in the marketplace, I think you let me know if I'm way off here, is that people are like, I'm just going to put up some Facebook ads and I'll make $1 million a month. And I'm like, no, that's so not how that works. So I just want to help pop that myth a little bit to be like, yes, is that a trajectory? Oh my God, totally. And you got to keep working with it to get there, right? It's a little bit of grit and a little bit of tenacity to stay in the game.
And I think that grit and tenacity is really what's key, because for so many people, whenever we start something new, whether it's a new marketing strategy or a new copywriting tactic or whatever, working with a new coach, working with a new course, whatever it is that we're doing, when we start off, we're in that honeymoon period where you're like, wow, like this is going to be great. This is the answer. I know exactly how this is going to go. I'm going to do this and da da da. And then now we don't know anything. We are literally clueless, right? We're completely incompetent because we haven't learned the thing that we're going to learn, but we are excited and we are happy to be there. And then what happens is as we become more competent, our confidence begins to dip because we're beginning to understand what we don't know. We're beginning to see where the gaps are in our skill set, in our knowledge base. And it's not to say you can't learn how to do those things, but you're suddenly becoming aware. That is normal. Everyone will get to that spot where you're starting to feel like these are my gaps, these are my skills. And guess what? Yes, you have gaps. You have skills that you need to learn. That's why you haven't done the thing that you're trying to do. And so what happens for people is they're like, wait a minute, this is harder than I thought it was going to be. And then they reach this point, which everyone goes through when they're learning something new. It's like that valley of despair, right? Where you're thinking to yourself, I'm never going to get it. Like this isn't working now, so it's never going to work, da da da. And it's almost like you come up against this invisible wall. And for so many entrepreneurs, when they come up against that invisible wall and they start to hear those thoughts that are saying, this just isn't going to work, like nothing's ever going to work, da da da, they actually believe those thoughts. Right. Now, those thoughts are purely just based on like feelings and emotions. And the reality is we have over 60,000 different thoughts a day. But for whatever reason, we're latching onto those, right? So we're latching onto that. And instead of continuing to push through the wall and get to the other side, we go back to square one and we look for the next shiny object thing. And we feel super excited and and we begin to learn. And then it's all over again. And you're never able to get to mastery. You're never able to continue to increase your competence because, by the way, on the other side of that invisible wall, your confidence begins to increase because your competence increases and you're starting to figure things out. And you're like, okay, this is actually harder than I thought it was going to be, but I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. Like I can see where I'm going. And then you're able to achieve your goal, but you're never going to get there if you take those random thoughts that we have in our head of, oh, this is never going to work. If we fall for that and then start from scratch. And I have so much empathy for people when they're in that space, that valley of despair, because I go there too sometimes. It's just a natural thing, right? Yeah. But the thing that I really invite people to remember is that when you're in that valley of despair, instead of getting stuck in that shame or despair tornado or whatever, instead of that, just be like, oh, I know my breakthrough is coming. What this actually means is that I'm coming up against that invisible wall. And that's exciting to me because I know on the other side of that is more confidence, mastery, achieving my goals. So this means that I'm actually getting closer to the source. And so if people can do that for themselves, it makes such a big difference in what you're able to achieve. And you just become almost like a machine where you're just like, it's not like you're unfeeling and it's not like you don't feel those emotions of despair or overwhelm from time to time, but you have confidence in yourself to keep going in spite of that.
I think you just said something really important, Caitlin, is that it's understanding it's part of the process. It's never not going to be there. Right? It's this little drop of humility. I remember when we were 18 and we knew everything in the whole world, right? Yeah. That's the not knowing that we go into some of these with that, I got this. And then the world starts to happen. You're like, I don't got this. And that knowing anytime we're going to stretch, anytime we're going to go for change, anytime we're going to push up against a boundary, we're going to feel like we can't do it, like we're stupid. Who do I think I am? The usual suspects are going to come up. And I think normalizing that, like you just said, like it happens to everybody. You can't get out. If you're like a human who's ambitious, you're going to hit this. There's no way you're not. And to make it normal and to actually have it mean you're on the right track and to not believe it means they're true. Those beliefs are true, right? Yeah. But rather that you're on the right track.
And it really does happen to everyone. For example, it's going to happen to you. Yes, if you're starting to learn more about selling with an evergreen model and you haven't done it before and you haven't really sold any courses before. So it's all brand new and you're like, wow, this is harder than I thought it was going to be, da, da, da. But we also have clients come to us who go through that, even if they have an experience of launching in the past, and they could be successful launchers. And sometimes they're even harder on themselves because they're like, but I was good at launching, but I was doing this. Like maybe my audience just isn't going to buy with a launch or without a launch, all of those different things. But I have to remind them, you didn't start off great at launching. Remember all that hard work you put in to learn how to do that? It's the same thing for this. You can't skip steps. You can't skip from beginning to end. You have to go through the pain, the discomfort, the challenge of learning something new.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree. And it's never comfortable. It's never comfortable. I think it's so important for us to understand the human psychology of that, to understand like chasing the new, like you were saying, I'll try something new. That is, oh boy, the dopamine hit from that. Like, boy, do we love it. Right. And then when you're in the unsexy and you're tweaking language, nobody knows you're tweaking. And you're starting to get in there. That's not so sexy. Right. And so I really appreciate you talking about that cycle that we go through, because I think people really do believe, like you said, there's something wrong with them when that normal part hits. So important. And I also know you specifically, you have three key steps that people can really go through to start to aim for that 7-figure. And I know for some people, they're like, it's not real 7-figure for me, it doesn't exist. So we've already got that can't there that we've been talking about this whole time. So as you share these 3 steps, I'm going to say to the listeners real quick, notice what your brain thinks. And then remember, Caitlin is like a human. She's an amazing human, but she's a human and she's done this. So just listen in. All right, hit it, Caitlin. What are those 3 steps?
I'm so glad you said that, first of all, because I remember the year I decided to make $1 million. It was that 3rd year. And I was like, you know what? This is the year I'm going to make $1 million. I don't know how, but I'm going to make $1 million. And all I wanted to know is if one other person had done it before. Like I didn't personally know anyone that had done it before, but I was like, has anyone actually done this? Has anyone, of course, looking back, I'm like, yeah, a gajillion people did it. But at the time I didn't know. So I was like, has anyone done this? Has anyone? And so I remember this one guy, he told me, he was like, oh yeah, so-and-so did it. She sold one course. And within a year she made $1 million. I was like, that's it. That's all I need to know, that it's possible. So there's really 3 keys to $1 million course. And I know that a lot of people are listening now. Maybe they have a course, maybe they're thinking of starting one soon. And so this is going to be really important to know. Number 1, you have to love your topic. Okay. Now it goes without saying, okay, that choosing a topic that you love to talk about is important. And I've seen so many course creators try to force themselves to talk about something, to create a course about something that they're actually not that interested in, right? Yeah. It's like a topic that maybe they have a lot of friends and family that are like, oh, you should really do it on this. You should do it. Or maybe you see someone else selling a course like that. And so you're like, oh, that person looks successful. I should be like, I'm going to do it on that. Da-da. Do not do that. And the reason why is because you're going to build a business around this and you're going to be talking a lot about that topic. And the truth is that you're not going to find that key topic that you are going to stick with for many years until you first pick a topic that you love and sounds interesting. Because whenever I say you got to love the topic, then there's always some people who are like, then they go into like overthinking mode and they're like, do I really love this? Am I going to want to talk about it 5 years from now? Listen, you're only going to get to where you want to go is if you take that first step. Okay. So if you pick something that at this moment, you're like, yes, I love this. Like, I'm really passionate about helping people do this thing. 6 months from now, you may not want to teach about that anymore. And that's okay. You can always pivot. You can always change your mind, but you have to start with something. And in this moment, you have to have an existing passion for it. Don't just do something because someone's, oh yeah, you should make a course about this or that or whatever. Like you're going to be talking about that topic a lot. So make sure that you're choosing something that you like. Okay. The second thing is that you have to teach what you know. Now, this is important because, again, sometimes we fall into the trap of trying to teach about something that maybe we, one, either aren't passionate about, but two, we don't know a whole lot about. And what happens when we do that, we're not able to come up with a gajillion different ideas of what to say on social media or to have podcast interviews about it or whatever it is. Now, there's a caveat to this because it does not mean that you have to be the best person in the world at that, right? You don't have to be the number one expert at that, but you have to be a few steps ahead of someone else. And there's no faking that. Like, you have to know how to do that. One of my favorite stories, because a lot of times people are like, I don't know, like my day job is in this, but but one of my side passions or hobbies is this other thing. And I do know a lot about it, and choose what you're passionate about. We had one client who, she was a housekeeper, right? So the more houses she cleaned, the more money she would make.
Right.
And she got real fast at cleaning houses. So over time, she was able to hire people, right? So then she had a team of people that were helping clean these homes. And she was so fast that she over time developed a method for cleaning a house top to bottom super fast. And that's how she would onboard these new employees, teaching them her system, right? What she decided to do is to take that system, package it into a course, and market it to busy parents of young kids, because who needs to clean their house faster than a busy parent of young kids? What she knew, she took something she was passionate about. She took something that, she could talk for days about, and she put it into a course and chose a specific market that she thought would benefit from it. She wasn't selling it. She didn't choose to sell it to other people who wanted to build a housekeeping business or other people who wanted to grow within a housekeeping business. She chose to market it to a different group of people, and that's okay, right? But the point is, she had the lived experience of being able to clean a house fast.
I love this. Yes. And you know what I love too, is it could be literally what you know about any topic, right?
Yeah.
That story just there about how to clean a house. Like, I was thinking of Marie Kondo too, while you're like, how the hell did that woman come up with a method? She did, right? Yeah. It's a real thing. I so appreciate that story, because I do think along with the entrepreneur porn, Caitlin, comes a lot of the whole, that sells, so I should just do that, as opposed to what am I really good at? What do I love?
If anyone walks away from anything, please know that you do not have that. The only way to build a successful business or a successful course is not just to teach people how to make money. And that is such a common myth out there. The reality is, the reason why it seems that way is because the only people talking about how much money they're making, including myself, are helping people make money. So we have to share that, because how much money I'm teaching people how to make money. How much money have you made? How much money have you helped your clients make? People want to know that. But I can tell you right now, I have friends who are selling online courses and memberships, and they're making millions of dollars a year. And they're selling everything from Pilates to how to play a guitar, to painting, to knitting, to cleaning a home, all kinds of different things. You just don't hear about it because they're not talking about it, because their audience could care less, right? They're there to learn Pilates. They don't care how much.
You're absolutely right. I'm about to redo my kitchen, and I just bought a "Don't Make These Renovation Mistakes" course. Let's go. Yeah, it's so true. It's so true. That is so powerful. All right. So we've got step 1, love it. Step 2, know it. What's step 3?
Step 3 is you have to connect with your audience. Now, this might seem, Caitlin, that's obvious, but there are a lot of people that want to skip this step. And they think, oh, I'm just going to create the course, put it out there, and it's going to sell. And I'm just going to go back in my little content cave where I just create content, but I'm not going to connect with anyone. I'm not going to and whether you are selling with sales calls or launching or with an evergreen model or automated, whatever it is that you're doing, you have to connect with your audience. And the best way to do the most leveraged way to do that is through content, right? Whether you're writing blog posts or a podcast or doing short little reels on Instagram, on, maybe you're on Threads or Facebook, whatever your channel is, TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn, it doesn't matter. You have to consistently post content that is teaching people about the problems that they are actively experiencing. And the reason why you want to do that is because you want to build an audience who are experiencing the exact problems that your course can solve. You cannot skip that step. I don't want to hear someone say, Caitlin, I'm just going to start to run ads. Guess what? Ads are content. And the more you spend on ads, you need to cycle through a lot of different ads. So you're going to be posting, you're going to have to be creating a lot of different content. You can't skip that step. Organic, paid traffic, it doesn't matter. It's all content. So figuring out what it is that people need to know in order to understand related to their problems, mistakes they're making, myths that need to be busted, mindset shifts that need to be happening, all of that, that is what all of your content needs to be about. And you're going to have to be consistent about it. But I also want to say, you don't have to be a consistent person in order to post consistently. And I just want to say that because a lot of times people have this idea that if they're going to be consistent, for example, on social media, it means they have to wake up every day and like live post something on social media. Like my energy is all over the place. Like sometimes, some weeks I'm just like, I need to just lay around and do nothing. And so what is helpful for me and for so many other course creators is to have systems in place that can do the consistent piece for you. So you don't have to be consistent. You can batch create a bunch of content, but then whatever system you're using is going to drip it out over time.
I love that. So good. And you're saying something, I think step like that third, I know we're calling it the third key, right? In my head, it's steps because I'm crazy chronological,
It's
but
all the same.
I love it. You're reminding me of something I love to say to people is money comes into your business through people. And I think we can forget that, right? It's what are the numbers? What's the conversion rate? What's happening there? How much did we spend on Facebook? All of that can start to kick in real fast. But remembering that content that's going out is hitting a person. And that if you don't take the time to connect with them, I so love that you said that because I do think I find as well, it's a step people just want to skip. They're like, I just want to be famous, or I just want to be the expert in this field, or I just want to do this one thing. And it's, I know, but you have to have people actually feel connected to you in order to do that. It's such an important piece.
Yeah. And I tell people all the time, do you know how many people need to watch this video to get one buyer? One. You need one person. If you can, don't get so caught up in the numbers like you were talking about. And, you know, you have to have a big audience. You have to have this or that. No, you don't need to have nearly as big of an audience as you think you do in order to have a successful business.
I love it. So let me ask you one question. All right, audience, she did not know I was going to ask her this. This just occurred to me as we were talking. I would love to know for you as a human being on planet Earth, right? All the things that we go through. In that third year where you popped, you're like, I love how you say being ready is a choice that you were like, this is the year I'm doing it. I don't even know how, I don't care. I'm doing it. What was your biggest aha during that year for you that had you actually start to break through the how?
Yeah. So there were I would say two big things and that really led to my success. And if I had not done these two things, there is no way that I would have hit that $1 million a year, right? Because there were within that 9-month period, like things were not smooth. It wasn't linear. It wasn't like, and now I'm doing 10 and then 11K a month and then 12K a month. And it wasn't like that. It was like up. It was like up and then a little bit down, up, a little bit down. Like, and so the two things that I really practice are number one, manage your emotions. And nobody is going to manage your emotions for you. And when I say that, I'm not saying to suppress your emotions or to pretend that negative emotions don't exist.
Right.
Because they do, you're going to feel them and you need to learn how to manage them. No one is going to do that for you. When you are there at the end of the day and you sent an email to the wrong group of people, someone left a mean comment on social media and you didn't hit your sales goal that week, you're going to feel bad, right? You need to figure out how to work through that. You need to figure out how to let yourself, okay, yeah, this sucks. This feels bad. Okay, now what? What am I going to do to solve it? Right? Being able to manage your emotions. That is the key thing that I see time and time again whenever I'm working with clients. The ones that are able to scale past 6 and even 7 figures, they don't necessarily know how to do it at the beginning, but they learn how to manage their emotions. And then the second thing that I did that was so helpful is measuring my results. And that was a key piece for myself of managing my emotions, because I could have an off day and that negatively influence the way I perceived my business. And I would say, oh, this isn't working. Nothing's working. But then I'd look at the numbers. I'd be like, okay, actually things are working. And then I could have another day where I'm like, wow, this is great. And then I look at the numbers. I'm like, oh, hold on a minute. I got to fix some things here.
Yeah.
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 So for someone like myself, who's very intuitive, who's very like emotional, all these different things, having those numbers and being able to use numbers as a way to manage my emotions, see things clearly and objectively was really key. There's no way I would have been able to hit my goals without doing that.
Love it. I love it. And again, thank you for the honesty. Yeah. Cause I think that's how everybody's experience is. Like, what is that one? There's like that one meme where it's like, everyone thinks success looks like this and it actually looks like this, right? It's like the big squiggly line, but I think it's so important. Okay. So I really appreciate what you said. We have managing our emotions, and really, I also heard in there, let me know if I got this right. What's next? It's a constant, yes, this is the truth now. And what are we doing? Yeah.
I'll give a clear example. Let's say you're trying to test out different like free webinar titles. Okay. So you try a webinar title for a week and guess what? Nobody's opting into it. It doesn't mean that you have the luxury of laying in bed for a whole week and drowning your sorrows with reality TV. You have to then be like, okay, that didn't work. Let's do another title, measure it for a week. Did the opt-in rate increase? If it did, great. If not, what's the next one? And it's just like this constant iteration. You're not getting swooped up into the drama of it all. You do not have that luxury. And every second that you spend stuck in the drama of it all is taking you further and further away from your goal.
Love it. So true though, too, is it takes so much energy to be caught up in drama. Oh my God, I'm awful. I suck. No one's ever gonna, that takes energy.
Yeah. And not being in the drama can sometimes be a little bit lonely, because guess what? When you're experiencing a lot of drama and you're airing all of your grievances for all to hear, you're going to have a lot of people come over and be like, oh my gosh, are you okay? Me too. This happened to me too, and all this stuff. And so you have while it's fleeting, it can feel a little bit good initially because, oh, I have all the support. And guess what? When your head's down, focused on doing your goals and moving forward, no matter what, nobody's there to applaud you. Nobody's there to tell you good job. Nobody is rallying around you. They don't even know what you're doing because you're so heads down focused. And that is why it is so important that when you are choosing a topic, when you are figuring out what it is that you want to do with your business, that it's something that you're really passionate about and really connected to. So you have that to pull yourself forward in those times where it's nobody's here to give me a round of applause because I'm up late writing these emails. Nobody knows, but I'm doing it because I'm committed to achieving the goal.
Yes. Yeah. I call those the invisible, unsexy tasks. But they're the ones that make all the difference. Right? They're not very Instagram sexy when it's midnight and you're like, I've written this freaking email 15 times. But I really want to highlight that's what the work is. Everybody wants the sexy post. Everybody wants that big, but the work is actually quite quiet.
Yes.
Yeah. And it is lonely at times. Yeah. And misery loves company. It's so true. Yes. Humans, we bond over like the rain. I just love that when people like the rain outside. You're like, dude, it's a natural occurrence. Yeah. Like, we bond over complaining about it. It's this thing we seek out. So to really shift our mindset into being a super successful entrepreneur, it will be those moments of pulling up that grit, like we were saying, and finding the courage to keep going when it's quiet. So good. So good. Caitlin, I love this. I could really talk to you all day. It really could. It would be so much fun. But I know you have a free gift for all of our girlfriends who are listening and or watching. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. So I have a free masterclass. It's about an hour long, and it's called How to Generate Launch-Sized Revenue Without Launching. So if you have an online course, or maybe you're thinking of starting one soon, and you want to be able to sell that course on autopilot, not through launching, then I highly recommend that you sign up. All you have to do is you can go to my website, CaitlinBacher.com. There's a big red button there that says free masterclass. It'll take you right to the registration page for that.
So good. So good. And if someone's listening and they're like, I need me some more Caitlin in my life, Where do you like to hang out online? Where can people find you?
Yes. So the social media platform that I'm the most active on is Instagram. But I also do have a podcast where I record just like 10-minute little solo episodes where I'm just riffing on a topic. So if you want more of me, that's the place to do it. And you can find that podcast on my website as well.
It's so great. So great. Caitlin, listen, thank you so much for the work that you're doing on the planet. I think it's so important that we break through where we have been held back before, that we learn how to contribute what we learned in our own lives and what we know. And I just so appreciate the support that you're giving other people to get that word out.
Thank you so much.